Sometimes life hits so hard that even breathing feels like a responsibility. And that's exactly where Mason Hale, a single dad and part-time waiter, found himself the night everything changed. Bills stacked on his kitchen counter like a growing mountain, his daughter's asthma medication running low, and double shifts at the diner draining the last drops of energy he had left. Yet Mason still smiled at every customer, still said, "Have a good night," like he wasn't drowning inside. The story you're about to hear isn't just about struggle. It's about how a small gesture can flip a life upside down. Because this story reminds us that kindness still matters. That evening, the diner lights flickered in their familiar hum as Mason wiped down table 16, his lucky table, as the other waiters teased him. Celebrities and wealthy businessmen visited often, giving him just enough hope to imagine a big tip that might save him for the month. But hope is fragile, and lately, reality kept breaking it. Then, near closing time, a tall older man in a gray wool coat walked in. He had that quiet presence, the kind people don't notice until he stands near them. His eyes scanned the diner like he was searching for something invisible. Mason greeted him gently, offering the warmest smile he could manage. The stranger nodded, sat at table 16, and ordered the simplest meal on the menu. No drink, no dessert, no small talk. Mason didn't mind. Some people carried worlds on their shoulders. He understood that better than anyone. When the man finished and stood to leave, Mason walked over hoping, praying, for a tip that might help him get through another week. But when he lifted the plate, his stomach dropped $0. Not even a single coin, just a spotless table and an empty plate staring back at him like an insult. Mason swallowed hard, forcing himself not to react. Maybe the man forgot. Maybe he didn't care. Maybe life was just unfair. Again, the other waiters glanced over, shaking their heads. One whispered, "People like that never appreciate anything." Mason didn't argue. He simply stacked the dishes, trying to silence the disappointment curling in his chest. But as he lifted the plate fully, something thin and folded caught his eye. A note, small, hidden beneath the rim. His hands trembled as he opened it, expecting a complaint or maybe a random scribble from a bored customer. Instead, he froze. Written in neat handwriting were 5 words that made his heart stop. "I know who you are." There was a second line, "Meet me outside." For a moment, he couldn't move. He felt exposed, confused, and honestly afraid. Stepping outside into the cool night air, Mason spotted the same man leaning against a sleek black car. Streetlights painted a soft glow around him. The man straightened as Mason approached, and for the first time, Mason really saw him. His suit wasn't ordinary. His watch alone probably cost more than Mason's car, if the car still worked. The stranger spoke calmly, his voice steady and sincere. He explained that he'd been quietly visiting this diner for nearly a month, not for the food, but to observe. He had seen how Mason treated every customer with genuine warmth no matter how tired he seemed. He had noticed how Mason slipped free muffins to lonely seniors and how he paid from his own pocket when a family couldn't afford their kids' pancakes. He had even seen Mason rush outside during a storm to help a stranger jumpstart their car. "You don't know this," the man continued, "but I grew up just like you. My father was a waiter. He worked until the day he collapsed. Men like him, and men like you, deserve more than life gives." Mason listened, unsure where this was going. The stranger's next words hit like a wave. "I'm Alexander Ridge, founder of Ridge Tech Industries." Mason blinked. Ridge Tech, one of the biggest tech companies in the country, worth billions. The man who left him a $0 tip was one of the richest men in the state. Alexander smiled softly, almost embarrassed. "I left you no tip because I didn't want to insult your dignity with money thrown carelessly. I wanted to give you something meaningful." He handed Mason a second envelope. This time, Mason's hands shook uncontrollably as he opened it. Inside was a letter, official, printed, stamped at a position that paid more in 1 month than Mason earned in half a year. A job with full medical benefits, including coverage for his daughter's asthma treatment. A job that promised stability, respect, and the chance to make a real difference. Something Alexander said Mason was already doing without even trying. Mason's knees nearly buckled. All the late nights, all the tears he hid from his daughter, all the moments he nearly gave up, they crashed into him at once. His eyes filled with tears he fought hard to hold back. Alexander placed a hand on his shoulder. This wasn't charity. It was recognition. You've been giving the world kindness while receiving so little in return. It's time someone gave back. For the first time in years, Mason felt hope light inside him again. When he returned home that night, his daughter Luna was asleep on the couch, clutching the worn-out book he read to her every night. He covered her with a blanket, sank to his knees beside her, and wept, not from pain this time, but from relief. The next morning, Mason walked into the diner not as a man trapped by life, but as someone finally free. His coworkers crowded around him as he shared the news, their cheers echoing across the empty tables. Even his manager, usually strict and unmovable, hugged him tightly. That evening, Luna danced around the living room when he told her they'd be okay, that she'd have her medicines, a safer home, and a future where her dad didn't have to miss school plays because of double shifts. And across town, Alexander Ridge smiled to himself, knowing he'd chosen the right person to lift up. Because sometimes the greatest investments aren't in businesses, but in people who carry kindness like a light, quiet, steady, and powerful.